All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sober Yoga Girl podcast. I'm really excited to be here with Susie Streelman today. And it is Susie's second time on the show. I think her first time on the show was like years ago, like maybe 3 years ago now.
Right? I think so too. That's hard to
Yep.
believe. I was so
Yeah.
excited.
And how long have you been sober now? Like 5 years, something like that, 4 years?
Yeah, about 4 years, just over 4 years, I've been alcohol free. Yeah, hard to believe. And so much has changed, right, in the last 4 years.
Mhm. I wonder if when I had you on the show, had you started doing sober in the city? Do you remember? I don't
I
know.
think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I'm not sure where it was because I want to say it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Incredible. So
yeah.
we had Peggy with us last week, who is the Chief Connections Officer of Zeroproof Experiences. She kind of told us a little bit of the story of how you guys got started, but maybe you could share a little bit about you could share about your journey and how you ended up starting the Sober in the City events. Be awesome.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about what I wanted to share, and this is coming to mind, right? I'll kind of do the brief version of how I landed here, but going way back just for a minute, when I was first married, this is just hitting me this morning. It's quite early here in Southern California, so it's not quite light yet. But when I was in my 20s and I was first married, and my husband and I would go out for dinner, we would typically order like one glass of wine, and we looked around the room and even at maybe some of our friends with disdain, who ordered like a whole bottle of wine to share, right? And definitely that gradually changed. Like if you ever heard the phrase, if you can't beat them, join them, right? And so, soon enough, we were drinking a lot more than one glass of wine at dinner. And I can actually remember, well, the first time I knew that I finished a whole bottle of wine, right? And it was actually champagne. It was because we had a little barbecue here. And, now we know that when you start at a certain time, it's kind of just easy to finish a bottle of wine. And I was the only one drinking champagne. And so whenever I wanted a little more, I just kept going back to the refrigerator, and pretty soon it was gone. And I was the only one that was drinking that. And I said to my friends, uh-oh, that whole bottle of champagne is gone. And they just kind of shrugged their shoulders. Well, yeah, that's okay. Just open another one. And it did hit me, but one of the big markers for me personally, I've always been pretty health minded, and interested in fitness, interested in health, nutrition, well being, which is one of the reasons that I'm absolutely in love with Bali. Alex, everything is just at your fingertips there, and it's fantastic. But when I was right around 40, I just went in for like a regular physical, and that's the time they start doing blood work a little more often. My liver enzymes were a little bit high. And so the doctor suggested that I should take 1 month off alcohol. And I was thinking inside my brain, oh my gosh, how am I gonna how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna get out and socialize? And so that's when I became an expert breaker. So I did take that month off, and I did retest my liver enzymes, which had gone down. And so, you know, then I went along my merry way. But that was kind of always in the back of my mind, honestly. So I took breaks here and there. I did dry Januaries, I did Lent seasons, I trained for some marathons, and I'm not sure why, sometimes I did that. Was it because I wanted to cut down my alcohol, or was I running the marathon? You hear what I'm saying? Was it the chicken or the egg? Why was I picking it? Because when you are training for a marathon, you do sort of have to um, decrease your intake. I've had some really bad long runs. Well, I tried that, having a glass or two of wine before running 15 or 20 miles. It's literally horrible. You should never do that. Uh, so anyhow, I took a lot of breaks for a dozen years. I never had any fun with it. It was like a Lent season, then the Lent season is over and you celebrate with champagne. In 2020, I took a longer break. I signed up for a longer break with Sober Sis, actually, and met some fantastic women there. And, I was having fun with it, right? So I met a lot of people, and that was a big difference, like what you're doing here in the sober girls community here is just a key piece. So I had never met really other people. In fact, I kind of been stalking a lot of Facebook groups, if I'm honest. At that time, what was there? There was Club Soda, uh, had a Facebook group, and I found a few others. And honestly, I tried to find somebody that lived in my area. I would kind of make comments and mention maybe we should get together for coffee. Nothing panned out. Nothing panned out. But meeting, a group of women that seemed to be, I mean, like, let's look around the room here. We have we have a few gals joining us, the Sober Girls Club, and y'all look like reasonably normal people. So getting together with like-minded people really made me feel okay. And I started to have fun. I started to be drawn a little bit more to the alcohol-free lifestyle than drinking wine every night, which I thought was simply crazy. But there was a big piece of me that wanted to keep that going. When I was alcohol free for 6 months, that was a big, big marker for me. I started to get out a little bit more. I I said yes to a girls' weekend trip, and it was really scary. Like I considered saying no. Uh, I went skiing actually with a few fantastic ladies, and they were honestly very supportive. We had a good time. There was a couple rough spots, but I came home from that feeling like, okay, the venues out there have so much education that that they need, and they didn't really have something for me most of the time. I didn't really feel like a part of the experience. And so that is roughly when I started connecting more with a variety of people online, and we hosted our very first Sober in the City here in downtown Long Beach. So
Amazing. It's an amazing story. And I remember seeing that come up on Instagram, and like to think of where it started as just a dinner and to where it's grown to be this like, movement, and you've done multiple cities across the United States. It's incredible. It's amazing.
yeah, it's been a pretty fun ride, right? And definitely one of the silver linings. I mean, let's talk about connecting a little bit. And first, even Alex, maybe we can just have this conversation. I think sometimes it's a little bit easy to disconnect at first being alcohol free.
Yeah.
So for example, I mean, I took a break. I I started feeling a little bit better physically. I started feeling a little more energetic. I was happy that, again, I'm pretty like interested in health and fitness. So I felt like any morning of the week now, I could get up and work out without being concerned that it wasn't going to go well because of alcohol. But now, sometimes there's other reasons. So you started to feel a little better physically. I did connect more with people online. I started to try some alcohol-free beverages,
Mhm.
and that, frankly, for me has been a really big game changer. uh, because I do like to go out. I don't want to stay home. But, particularly at first, I had much better, and this is, still the case, although things are changing, I had much better beverages at home. So thinking about going out to dinner where wine and ordering the wine and the ritual of doing that used to be a pretty big part of my experience. And now I was kind of dreading a piece of that, like there's not going to be anything good for me. I could actually stay home and have a nice alcohol-free curious elixir or, my groovy sparkling wine or whatever it was. There's so many beautiful and great brands right now, but going out felt a little bit daunting. I did have this online connections, but sometimes maybe I found myself avoiding the social experience, right? Or going out to dinner, traveling. Um, and I think that's a that's a big issue. You get to this place where you're feeling pretty good physically, but we have to kind of rediscover or redefine the socialization.
Yeah, yeah, I can so relate to that. I have a question for you actually around this. Like if there's someone out there that's listening to this that's like in that phase of like isolating, feeling a bit like fearful of getting to their first event or thing or even like first Zoom call, what would you recommend? Like what would you suggest?
Yeah. Uh, I think there's a few things and it might take a little time, but I mean, definitely if you're going out researching the menu, probably everybody here is pretty familiar with that. Um, but you are going to find now that there are more places that have it on the menu. I mentioned to you early that I was out in Palm Springs just yesterday, and we didn't choose specifically a restaurant, just walking down the street. They had a zero proof menu with three beverages on the menu that you could order. And as I do, I asked the waiter, I said, "How long have you had this and how's it going?" So they've only had it just for a few months. So sometime after, they were a little late to the party after dry January of this last year. But he said it's doing well and he's selling those every night. So I think, be encouraged that the world is changing for you. And if you look up a few restaurants in your area, you'll be able to find one. And I think also the venues need to know that, hey, we're researching that. It's not only that we're coming and ordering the beverages, but we also may be bringing our friends that both want to order non-alcoholic beverages and alcoholic beverages. So, sometimes we're like driving the show and the force where we're the ones that are bringing 4 or 8 or 10 people into their venue specifically because they have that. Uh, I digress a bit from your question, but how to connect? I mean, online is going to be the easiest, right? If you're not really there yet. And there's so many groups like check in. I think it's super fun to be involved with several alcohol-free communities. I'm so thrilled to meet, this Sober Girls Club this morning, but there's a lot of places to connect. Start with the Facebook group. I used to be super embarrassed to show my Facebook feed because I was getting so obsessed with all this alcohol-free stuff that, when I showed one of my friends something on Facebook, I'm like, don't scroll down because it's all all about being alcohol-free or sober. And so I think that's a really easy way, but I also feel pretty strongly that that's not enough. And I believe that it is very important to connect in person locally. And
Mhm.
we started actually kind of coming alongside people that want to host a local meetup because I feel strongly that you should have somebody within 25 miles that you can call up and have coffee with or dinner with. I got to connect with a couple of gals last week in Los Angeles, which is only 25 miles, but sometimes that can take 2 hours from Long Beach. And I'm so thrilled to have that. It's taken a while, though, Alex, for
Mhm.
me. So I get that it's not there for everybody, and we want to, you know, just really encourage that and come alongside you to help you host. So we'll be doing another round of that, by the way, January 7, it looks like, in anticipation of another big dry January of 2025.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I agree with you. It's so important to have any kind of connection. Like I just remember, so my first probably 7 days of sobriety, I didn't even join a Facebook group because I was so paranoid of like, what will people think of me? And I thought that everyone would just be able to like just see anytime I joined a group. Like I didn't really understand that the algorithm was targeted toward me. So I was seeing, all the propaganda sober because I was searching how to quit drinking, but people are not on their own Facebook like watching what I'm doing. But I thought they were very concerned with me. And so I wouldn't join any groups. And I remember the day in which I joined groups, which was maybe a week into it, and it was like life changing for me just to be like, oh my gosh, there's all these people out there who are going through the same thing. And then the first time I was in a room full of sober people was a year later. I think I might have.
Okay, I'm gonna jump back in, Alex. I think you're paused a little bit with the internet there in fantastic and beautiful Bali. But yeah, you were just talking about the first time that you were in a room with sober people or alcohol free, and we'll hear more about that later. Um, but hi everyone. Um, okay, where were we going now? Um, Yeah, so just talking about the importance of meeting in person, which is pretty fantastic. And here comes Alex right back. So, hi,
Oh,
welcome back.
thank
Just,
you. My bottom line.
yeah, yep. So, back to like the first time you were in a room with sober people.
Oh, yes, yes. I just remember it being profound. And I was leading the room. That was the funny thing. It was like I was leading 1 year no beer, sober yoga or something. And I had no facilitation skills. I had no idea. And I don't think I realized what it was going to be. Like I thought I was just going to get on and like screen share and just teach a yoga class. But it just like kind of became a sharing circle, because I wanted to ask, like, hey, how's your sober journey? How far along are you? Like, where are you in the world? Like, oh, this person's from there, and it was amazing. That was a year into my sobriety. And I remember thinking, like, I wish I was doing this from day one, but I didn't know the power of what I would get from that, And so I completely agree with you. And I'm wondering, like, how do you think the social connections help someone in their success in their sober journey?
Yeah, great question. I mean, for me, it's been absolutely one of the silver linings. Like when I first originally thought about being alcohol free, I thought my life would not be complete without alcohol. I I wouldn't ever imagine taking a trip or vacation without alcohol. I remember saying, "Ooh, you never want it to be a problem because I don't want to give this up," right? So, and then to find like now, and I know this isn't the case for everybody, but now I am actually more social than I have ever been in my entire life. I've always enjoyed there's definitely that introverted side of me that needs some downtime, but I really do enjoy being social. And so I would never have believed you to say if if somebody told me you actually might be more social. Now, you might not be, but again, I do think whether you're an introvert or an extrovert or wherever you are on that scale, you do need to have some socialization. So, for example, I mean, I met my business partner, Peggy, at our very first Sober in the City here in Long Beach. And I was so amazed and honored that she showed up because, she was already an author and having her book out and growing her Facebook group and all of that. And then people thought, oh, let's do another one. We'll have Peggy be the speaker of the next one. So we did it in Sacramento. And, now I can't let her go. She's all in as our chief connections officer and just a really big asset to what we're doing. We're kind of, we both have different stories and so we're a nice balance to the team, I think.
I have a question for you about, so the Sober in the City events are pretty big, right? And I'm wondering, like, when you have that big of a size, like, are there specific strategies you put into place where people feel like they're included, they're safe, there's this sense of belonging? Like, how does that look like?
Yeah, that's a good question because we do often have around 100 people at each event for a weekend. So this is a little different than a retreat, which is also another fantastic way to connect in person. Again, like I encourage connecting locally. I think for a lot of us, we also want to connect through travel experiences, which might be a retreat with Alex in Bali. It might be a Sober in the City weekend, and excited to see some of you in Scottsdale next May. We'll just be doing one Sober in the City weekend next year. So very excited about the venue and the experience in Scottsdale and having you there, Alex. But yeah, we want people to come in and feel comfortable. So for one thing, for those that arrive early, we offer something on Thursday evening, and that this time will be hosted by Heather Lowe and a few others. She's already got a lot of ideas with people that are going to come in and help her. So we're not sure what kind of dinner or kind of appetizer experience, but it's going to be great fun and connection. Probably a smaller group if that's a little bit more comfortable for you to ease into the weekend. It'll probably be around 30 people on Thursday night. And then, really the activities start Friday afternoon. And we have found that more than half it's going down a little bit as we've had more events because more people are returning. And if you're returning, then you're always going to know a few people. But more than half of the people, Alex, come solo, meaning maybe they've met somebody online, but they have never met anybody in person that they're aware of. And I think that is such a very brave thing to do. So we typically have a solo social Friday afternoon for people that come solo. And so it's a way to kind of connect and ease in. In fact, I mean, as you've heard, it really started out as just a dinner party, right? Saturday night. And when we were in Sacramento, we added like a little connection time we got one suite upgrade, which we handed to Peggy. And so anybody that was in town, we said, come up to the suite. And people liked that so much because, if you think about the times you've gone into like a gala, right? Or a big fundraiser dinner, and you kind of go in cold. Whereas at Sober in the City, we want you to come for the whole weekend. We want you to have a travel experience, but it's also, in my mind, really a celebration of the alcohol-free lifestyle. And so we hope that you learn, that you connect, maybe that you network. There's definitely people that have conspired, so to speak, and they started a book club or um, a mocktail business together. Maybe it's a fun project and you want to connect with somebody else and host a meetup. If you want to do it with us, great. If you want just some advice on how to do it yourself, we're happy to do that. But yeah, a lot of different activities available on Saturday, like yoga with Alex. Yeah, we're going to have some Reiki, a lot of breakout sessions that we expect to be very interactive. Learning about confidence building is one that we'll have from kind of a corporate gal, which I think is going to be a fun addition. So a lot of different things, some movement, some having a lot to do with being alcohol free, and maybe a little more casual, like we've done even like a craft and rock painting before. And isn't that a cool thing? I think especially in the beginning, when you're just so used to having that drink in your hand, it's really nice to have something to do with your hands, right? Um, so something you can take back. And then when you're at that celebratory, I mean, to me, it's always my very favorite part of the weekend is the Saturday night dinner party. The celebratory, it's kind of like the pinnacle of the weekend to celebrate, and we want it to be special. So that is where we put a lot of the resources for the weekend into having an elevated experiential dinner. And this time we're actually going to have Annika, the founder of Groovy, as our keynote speaker. And that was, she's she's been there since the beginning, really as part of the alcohol-free revolution. So I'm very excited to hear a little bit more of her story. She was actually selected too as the Forbes 30 under 30. I think she is over 30 now, I think. Um, but yeah,
Incredible.
so I'm excited to just learn more about that and her experiences. She's a hard worker, and they have a full line of alcohol-free beverages. So, that's a great option to let your venues know about as well. Because they have the alcohol-free beer, they have the alcohol-free sangria, and several wine varietals. Cool thing about them too is the single serve sizes. So sometimes venues, that really helps the venue.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, I have one more question for you, and then I'll open it up if anyone has any other questions as well. But I'm just wondering, you mentioned that, you would love to, work with other people or connect or maybe even give them some, advice. And I'm just wondering, like, if someone is listening to this and maybe they feel like there aren't any sober events in their community or, the place where they're living, they want to start something up, what suggestions would you have to help, create these, whether it's just like initiating the event or, how do you create a community event where people can build a strong connection? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say you just need one other person. I mean, yes, you can do it by yourself, but don't. Don't do it by yourself. Get one other person. Now, and host something together. You each invite two friends. Even and I think it's nice even to, you can invite friends that drink alcohol to experience just an evening alcohol free. I know, a lot of people want to connect with people that are like-minded and are alcohol free. If you search meetup, you may be surprised that there's something already meeting in your area. I have connected. There's a gal in Long Beach who started an alcohol-free meetup group specifically for Long Beach. It's only been about a year and a half. There's over 1,000 people in that group now. And yeah, we're a pretty big city, but there was nothing like that 2 years ago, let's say. So there may be something already in place, and that's super cool. If you have an alcohol-free bar or bottle shop, that's a great resource because they're usually really happy to co-host something with you. And if you have that one other friend, to me, it makes me so much braver. I
Yeah.
think, maybe we've all been in that situation where you're at a party and you are the only one not drinking alcohol. And I know for myself that when I look around and I see one other person, it's such a nice connection and feeling. So I think you can absolutely do it. And again, we're happy to kind of come alongside and to help promote that with you if you're interested to. So would love to hear from you. Send me a DM. Love to connect.
So- Oh, Susie, thank you so much. I think this was a really inspiring conversation. It's just incredible to see, where you started and where you are now. And I cannot be like, I'm so excited to be part of it. It feels like it's just been a long time coming. And the hype is building and the amount of people. And I actually think there's more than 7 people that have signed up from my community because I saw the list of 7 people and then people have been DMing me saying, "Oh, I just got my ticket. I just got my ticket." One person who did my teacher training online a few years ago, Shanna, who's been on this show, she told me she had a dream. She had a dream that because she hadn't seen the post and she had a dream that she met me in real life for the first time. And then the next day she went on Facebook and she saw my post being like, reminder, like get your Scottsdale tickets. And she didn't even know it was happening. And so she signed up now too. And so it's going to be it's going to be a big Soberfest reunion. It's gonna be great.
Right. Oh, that's so exciting. That's so exciting. And yes, we have been waiting for a long time. I know we tried to make this happen a few times before this, and we both wanted it to happen. And so we were pretty intentional, though, to make this happen this time, Alex. So yeah, I think I mean we had to go to Bali to meet Alex in person first before she would come here with us. Which was not, that was not a bad deal, Alex. I'm not complaining.